Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. It was all going too well. It was all going far, far too well. My goodness. The seemingly straightforward case of Tottenham trying to sign an England international £6 million release clause. It all seemed fair enough. Then suddenly it wasn't. What a mess. What an absolute mess. I've been trying to hold off on this video. I've been trying to kind of just think, oh, if I just give it one more day, maybe we'll get a bit more clarity on it. And it just feels like as much of a mess right now as it was, 4 or 5 days ago or so. Just mad. Crikey. Where were we? Last time we spoke, I think it was Spurs were about to seal, or it was, wasn't it? Oh, it was Thursday. Was it Thursday night I did it? I'm trying to even remember. I think essentially it was set to be a medical, £60 million deal on top of Mohamed Kudus coming along for £55 million, on top of the £5 million that Kota Takai coming along, £120 million of excitement. Then it all went rather wrong. So let's break it all down into chunks. I think that's the best way to deal with this, is to look at different sections of it, and we'll kind of talk about what comes next and what in the world is happening. So, like I say, what happened? We had the move, came out of the blue a little bit in terms of publicly, privately, a player that we've spoken about in the past at Spurs liking, and also Thomas Frank. Wanted him at Brentford years back when he was at Wolves as well. He's a player that he believes perfect for his setup, a number 10, creativity, but also high energy, great work rate kind of player. So an approach made sense, really, for all parties. Of course it did. Spurs made their move, everything seemed to be accelerating, and then suddenly this pesky thing got in the way called Nottingham Forest. And that's not being disrespectful in any way, because they have absolutely every right to be... to have their say. We'll talk about how much of a say as this goes on, and also what they can do. But essentially, and when I say pesky, I'm obviously joking. It's just all seemed to be going so well. But yeah, it was... So Forest came out, took umbrage at everything, essentially, believing an illegal approach had been made to their player without their permission, and also the confidentiality of this £60 million release clause, meant to be a secret release clause, had been breached. That's their kind of claims, with suggestions that Tottenham happened to make a bid of exactly what the release clause was, which I don't know whether that's true or not, we'll find out, but you would imagine, surely, you don't. If you found out the secret release clause, you'd be like, let's put in a little lower bid, and then they can reject it, and then we can say, what about this? And they'll go, darn it, oh no, what are the chances? Surely you wouldn't go straight in with the exact bid. Surely. I don't know. Well, it'll all be revealed in the I was going to say the sands of time, but it will be revealed in time is probably the best way to put it. So that was kind of that, and Forest ended communications with Spurs. Everything suddenly kind of ground to a halt. And I guess from Forest's point of view, just sold Anthony Elanga to Newcastle for £52 million. They weren't planning this summer on letting Morgan Gibbs White go. I just realised I haven't actually said his name since the start at all. Have I even said it? I've just spoken about this. I don't know. Honestly, my brain is so frazzled by trying to find out kind of where this is going each day. But yeah, they obviously wouldn't have planned on losing him this summer. But we'll talk a little bit more about his future in a moment. But as for Gibbs White himself, where was he in all of this? So, obviously, he was set to have this medical at Hotspur Way. From digging around sources on various sides of this a couple of days back, it became very clear quite quickly he had not left Nottingham. He did not leave Nottingham. This is all kind of sides, sources from all kind of sides suggesting this as well. I think it was made very clear, whether directly or through his people, that Forest, and especially their owner, Evangelos Marinakis, were not happy at all, to put it mildly. So, yeah. That's maybe an important aspect, potentially, kind of with everything that kind of happened since, because clearly, had he gone to Hotspur Way and Forest claiming without permission given, that could have been a whole other thing as well. But yeah, he wasn't involved. They had a friendly on Saturday, a 0-0 draw at Chesterfield. He wasn't part of that, but that was very much ordinary because he was part of the group of international players that had played, obviously last month it is. I'm losing track of what month we're in now. Last month, played for England, didn't he? I think he came off the bench twice, briefly in the first one, half an hour in the second one, I think. I think it was at the City Ground, actually. It was at the Senegal game. But yeah, he was always going to come back this week. And then we obviously got the kind of... he was back yesterday morning at Forest for all of his kind of stuff that we've seen the Spurs players do, blood work, testing, all that sort of stuff. Forrest made it very clear he was back, popped his photo up as one of the main social media photos of him coming back. There was some social media speculation today that said he hadn't gone to training. Today he's been training and everything. So he is doing exactly what is expected of him. He is fulfilling, his contract. Again, that's another kind of important terminology here. So what have Forest done since? What they have done is it's now become a legal matter between the two clubs. Forest not at this point believed to have officially complained to the Premier League. This is as of today. But I think, from what I understand, the league will still have a duty to look at any claims made about their clubs. So I don't know whether it requires a formal complaint to them to kind of look into this or not. Forest, as of this evening, are said to have written to both Spurs and Morgan Gibbs White's agent, threatening legal action over what they believe was an unlawful approach for the player and a breach of confidentiality laid out in his contract. I saw, just as I was coming on here, Sky Sports have been told, apparently, that the letters put both parties on legal notice, reminding them of their obligations and spelling out how Forest believe both Spurs and Gibbs White's representatives have breached Premier League rules and the terms of the player's contract. Okay, so that's from the Forest side of things. Who is saying what, you might ask right now? Officially, nobody. Neither Forest nor Tottenham are making any official comments on this. Certainly, one side of this seems to be a little louder than the other in terms of, let's just say, information coming out is the best way to put it. And when I contacted the Premier League, so the Sunday or Monday, they made it clear to me that they wouldn't be commenting or providing guidance on anything that's happening, which is, I guess, is all understandable really, because especially if it's legal matters, it's a slightly different thing. So kind of we're going to have to officially wait for this to run its course. What that course is, we shall find out, because privately Spurs are believed to feel they've done nothing wrong. And they still want to sign the player. What does Morgan Gibbs White want to do? Well, certainly from what we understand, he's been turning down attempts from Forest for a fair few months to talk about a new contract. They want to give him a big new contract, make him one of, if not the top earner at the club, with either removal of this release clause or a renegotiation of it. But he has thus far, and his representatives have not entertained such talks. So Forest clearly kind of see that they've got a player who maybe doesn't want to be there for the long term. And look, he certainly seems set to come to Tottenham, obviously working with Thomas Frank, but also reunited with his former teammate Brennan Johnson, England colleague Dominic Solanke. So what comes next? How do we get through this? How do we all get through this? Something needs to break, because it's a stalemate at the moment. Something needs to break through. Otherwise, this is going to either drag on forever, or someone will walk away, or someone else will come into this scenario. Because Forest are believed to have made it clear that though they've taken no action thus far, they are prepared to do so. And it seems to be both via the Premier League and also the law courts. And like I say, Spurs believe they've done nothing wrong. It's almost like Spurs are being told, walk away, or we'll get you. That's kind of like what it feels like right now, what it seems, certainly from the information coming out. So yeah, one of the options is Spurs do walk away. But they still, at this point in time, want to still sign the player. Another option would be pay more money for him. They could, but that kind of makes a mockery of the whole release clause. It's like, what's the point of a release clause? And any other club, Spurs could say, we'll give you another 5 million for him. And another club could just come and go, well, we might as well have him for 60 million if he wants to come to us. And it just kind of, that will be the fear, I think, the longer this drags on. But I guess the problem for Forest is they're going to get the same money regardless. I know they clearly are now going to be annoyed at Tottenham for what they believe has happened. And for maybe this release clause now getting out there into the public consciousness. But ultimately, they're still going to end up with a 60 million that they're not wanting currently from Tottenham, unless there is some kind of time sensitivity to the clause, which is thus far not been indicated. But, who knows? There's secret elements to this contract, and there may be other secret elements that haven't come out. And there's a player's side to this as well. Morgan Gibbs White himself. Maybe one solution is, and this is just me kind of speculating, spitballing really, is maybe he has to forego some bonuses maybe he might be entitled to. Sometimes you'll see transfer deals go through that way because a player gives up stuff or an agent gives up some commission or something. And sometimes the buying club kind of makes it up to them in the long run. But again, there is this release clause, and this is the other side of it as well, because another option could be, potentially, I guess, that Morgan Gibbs White could bring legal action against Forest for a breach of contract. Because what was the point in having a release clause in a contract if you're not then able to enact it, regardless of kind of the way it happened? He could try to force this move through, although it seems to be at the moment, certainly from various kind of reports as well, that he's not prepared to do that right now, I guess, because maybe that's just an even worse look than everything that's happened thus far. And I mean, it's just a mess. It's just a complete mess, because from Forest side, they really have potentially their best player, probably their best player, unhappy for the season ahead if he were to stay. But also you've got some of the Forest fans now have decided they want him out anyway because he wanted to leave. Thus, if he plays a game, even if he plays a friendly, he may get booed and stuff like that as well. So his exit probably is less controversial now than it was a few days back. It's just this weird stalemate now, and it's about who blinks first. So I would have loved to have come into this video and go, damn, bam, 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 that's what's going to happen. Yes, this is what's going to happen. It's exactly what will happen next. But it's not like that. It all will come down to, I guess, how much of a sure footing Spurs believe they are in, how much of a sure footing Gibbs White and his representatives believe they're in. And if they are strong enough in their beliefs in that, then Spurs will presumably try to push through with this. And then if Forest want to kind of come at them, they'll believe in what they've done and then believe in what's happened. And I guess that will probably be the truest test, I suppose, of whether Tottenham truly believe that nothing was awry in this, if they still go through with it, I suppose. Whereas if they walk away, I don't know. Maybe I suppose there's a time aspect to it as well. Maybe if they feel like, okay, well, we had the other person, which is kind of leaving Gibbs White in it, isn't it? Really, it's a bit like going through all this to try and get him, and then kind of casting him aside as well. But again, someone else might come in. But it's just such a shame because he's so perfect for this setup, and it'd be so exciting to see him in this team. And I think he'd be a great signing. But we need to kind of get through this really difficult kind of awkward impasse at the moment. And yeah, as this week goes on, we'll find out more. We'll find out exactly what kind of footing everyone's on, whether Forest kind of relent in any way, or whether they are just going to kind of stick in their kind of to their boots. Because from what's stick to their guns, not stick to their boots, but kind of from everything that's coming from their side is player is not for sale. But how can a player with a release clause be not for sale? It's like it just keeps coming around to this weird circle. I don't know. But you can imagine it's been as frustrating to write about as it has for you guys to kind of hear about, because especially with legal stuff, it's very difficult from a reporting perspective. You've got to be really careful you don't put the wrong things. You don't accuse anyone of anything. It's got to be very carefully laid out that, these are claims and beliefs and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, but hopefully they'll find a solution, because the feeling for much of this week has been that it's going to delay things rather than block the transfer. But I think we're now at a point where the legal aspect to it is kind of like, who knows? Kind of the legal side of it kind of complicates matters even more, because which way does it then go? And can something go through and then be fought? Is it then become a very expensive transfer because of other potential legal costs at the end of it? Could there be any potential blowback from Spurs if they were to have done anything wrong from the Premier League? I think, has there been bans before? Transfer bans, I think, for clubs or in the past. And I'm not saying they've done anything that's being claimed, but, there is that fear if something is taken a different... I don't know. Again, getting into this this whole area of kind of guesswork, and it's not a great thing, especially when there's legal stuff going on, which is why I've had various people saying, can you explain all the legal side of this and exactly what it is? It's like, no, because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not. I will look over the next few days to try and get kind of sports lawyers and get some kind of idea about it. But the problem is, even that, you're getting someone to comment on something that nobody knows the ins and outs of exactly, apart from Forest, Spurs, and Gibbs White and his people. And then you are kind of going to speculating. So I know I've just kind of done that for the last 15 minutes, 16 minutes or so. But I've kind of just explained what we do know and what potential options are based on what we do know, if you see what I mean. Hopefully you understand what I mean. Right, so what else have we got? Some positive news on a different player. From what I understand, Kota Takai has now received his work permit. He got it today, so he can now finally begin training with his teammates. He's... We've seen that before with players that have been waiting and waiting. Sometimes they take a bit longer. This one's been a week, hasn't it? But it came this morning. So he trained, I think, today. Hopefully you should see some photos from training. Normally they do them late at night, don't they? They might have already done them while I'm doing this. Sometimes you get them in the morning. But yeah, sorry. I'm going to constantly be looking down there because anything could happen with Spurs, as we've just seen. So that's Takai. At least he's sorted out now. That's one player that's come through the door and can now properly train. Mohamed Kudus has already started training. I think they had a day off on Sunday, and I think he began training on Monday. You might have seen the video. Spurs put this nice little video up of training, but mainly focused on him. It was quite nice because you saw players like Ben Davies, Christian Romero, Sonny, Vicario, all kind of at various points coming over to him, speaking to him, putting an arm around him and everything. It was quite nice, and clearly trying to look after him a little bit. And there was a nice little moment in a rondo where, he's having quite a bit of fun with Jed Spence. They're just passing it between themselves because no one's coming to tackle him. And we've got some nice little bits from his medical as well, some behind-the-scenes stuff. I thought it was really nice. Thomas Frank came into the room, and you could just see what a very nice, affable chap he is. He was kind of talking to him like, you've got everything you need, you're ready to go, all this sort of stuff. But there was just this one little line he said about, are you family? Have they come over with you? And Kudus said, no, tomorrow. And he said, I'd like to meet them. And I just thought it was just a little kind of nice aside. I know it's not the biggest thing in the world, but it just kind of, I just thought that was pretty classy. And then he kind of got lost trying to get out because it's all new to him as well, the whole medical side of the building. Which was quite funny. And then we had this other little moment, which was very good for Spurs fans to hear. That he kind of did the MRI stuff, heart specialist looking at him. And he said, I'm going to listen to your heart, okay? Without missing a beat, if you'll pardon the pun, Kudus said, you'll find Spurs there. Which, the doctor smiled and said, I can hear the cockerel now. But I'm not sure Spurs fans would have loved that. Their former player going straight to Spurs and saying Spurs is in his heart. Yeah, I know how we'd feel if that was him going elsewhere, or a Spurs player going elsewhere. Harry Kane going to Bayern, I suppose, and then saying Bayern were in his heart. But look, it's all part of the game. It is. What else? Oh, they gave him a nice little surprise, didn't they? Stoneboy the Ghanaian musician. They got him Spurs to create this new track for him, which was very cool. Actually, it's a very cool bit of music, which played over his unveiling video. I'm pretty sure it was. And he looked very touched by all of that. It was very nice. What other news have I got? Mikey Moore back in training. He was part of that kind of last group to come back to training, the ones who'd been at under-21s and under-19 European Championships. Archie obviously won it. Matisse Tell and Odebear got through to the semis. And about a week earlier, Mikey had gone out with England in the group stage. He picked up an ankle injury. He was on the bench for the final group game, but I think it was only use him in a case of emergency kind of thing. But yeah, they crashed out. I think it was 4-2 defeat anyway. And he looked fine from the footage I saw. He was in a rondo with the likes of Richarlison, Ben Davies, Luka Vuskovic, Kevin Danso, Jamie Donnelly, Yves Bissouma. So it was quite a rough and tumble rondo, as it were. And he certainly seemed to be playing a full part. So that's good news. What else we've seen? We've seen James Maddison continuing to do on the grass work with a ball. So that's a good sign, hopefully. Wasn't just new faces we got to see in Kudus and Takai, hopefully. We'll see today. We also saw Cameron Campbell, the new first-team individual development coach, in action. He's the Scot, 33-year-old Scot, who's come from RB Leipzig, who's head of player development there, or previously had been at RB Leipzig. I don't know if he came directly from there or whether he left there. But either way, it was a role that Thomas Frank and Johan Langer really wanted to bring in, like an individual skills coach, and they have, and it will be him. What else we had? We inadvertently got Destiny Udogie revealing that Spurs are going to be big on long throws next season. I think we kind of presumed they would, because that's a Thomas Frank thing. But we got this very eagle-eyed Spurs fans noticed in the back of this Destiny Udogie Snapchat video that you've got this like video with Basuma, Sarr and Porro all dancing away to music, and then very, very, well, like I say, eagle-eyed, they notice if you pause it at a certain moment, on one of the screens in the background, it's got all of this stuff, like all the here's what you've got today players, your timetable of events. It had like a meeting before medical and prep, individual prep, and then training. And then on the other half of the screen, it showed some of the things that are happening in training, including possession work. But at the bottom of this list was long throw audition. So clearly they're going to have been out there seeing who could throw it the longest. And it is a big thing for Thomas Frank and Brentford. They led the way by a distance in the Premier League when it came to the long throws hurled into the penalty area. And now it looks like he's going to bring that to Spurs. It will probably, I presume, fall under the remit of Andreas Georgsson. Spoke about him before, the ex-Man United and Arsenal coach, worked with Frank at Brentford for a season, I think it was. He's tasked with, he's technically a first-team assistant coach with a general role, but mainly an expertise in set pieces, attacking and defensive, and restarts during matches, which I presume will include throw-ins as well. So, yeah, that it's very much a Thomas Frank thing. And I wouldn't just see it as they're going to be the new Stoke Tottenham. I dug out this quote. He said in 2021, after Brentford had caused chaos against Arsenal with some long throws, he said, I see the long throw as a weapon, like I see the short throw or wide free kicks or breakthroughs. I just see it as another area we need to master. Friday night, it was an area we were stronger than Arsenal. That's why we put a lot of throws in. But it's not to say we would do it every single game. Last year in the Championship, we did it in some games, and other games we didn't. Are we going to be the new Stoke? I hope we're going to play a few more passes. For me, it's not one or the other, it's both. I hugely respect teams that are strong on set pieces or long throws, and we'll try to do both. Build up from the back sometimes, but also go more direct sometimes. And I guess this is part of the whole Thomas Frank thing, is that he doesn't have, I've said this before, but he doesn't have one set ideology or principle of play. He likes to mix it up and have very many different ones as well. He will adapt to the players, he will adapt to the opposition. So it's going to be very interesting. I think we're going to have a lot of arguments between us all over who should be playing, who should do this, should this tactic be that, because essentially it's not going to be the predictable obvious thing each week. It's going to mix it up. So yeah, very interesting indeed. Let me know your thoughts on long throws below. Like my personal opinion, if it's used in bits and pieces, then why not be a kind of a threat to have in your locker and use every time we've seen that used against Spurs, we always have a heart in our mouth as they're trying to defend it. And you can see what a nightmare it causes. So, yeah, actually, who do you think will win it? Let me know in the comments. Who do you think won the long throw audition? I may well ask that. We've got the first press conference with him on Friday. And obviously the first press conference is like a million questions in your head. But you've got to have the really obvious ones, but also with the knowledge that if you're not going in the first 4 or 5 journalists to ask questions, because often they'll go through broadcast ones first, your main questions may well be answered by them. Because obviously there's some big obvious questions like Sonny and Romero's future as well, and Morgan Gibbs White as well is obviously going to come out. He's not going to be able to say anything about it at all, but someone will ask him about it. And Kudus as well, and Takai and Vuskevic's future. There's so many little ones, but you're going to have all these backup ones. By all means, put your thoughts of potential questions. I'll shove them all in a list if they're good ones as well, because I may well need them. And they probably will be better than the ones I'm thinking of anyway. But yeah, pop in the comments who you think won the long throw audition. And maybe if I run out of other questions, I'll ask him. So, what else have we got? I'm trying to think. The famous Bill Nicholson Gates they've returned home to Tottenham returned home to the stadium today, and I think they've been in storage, haven't they? So they're going to be put back up in what's called Paxton 17, which is between the ticket office and the historic buildings at the kind of the north side of the stadium. I presume that's kind of all around the edge of Sainsbury's area, as in the stadium side of Sainsbury's. And we got some Daniel Levy quotes on that, which I literally noticed as I was about to kind of hit play on this, so I've kind of copied them into this. He said, "The Bill Nicholson Gates are such a significant part of our club's heritage, and I'm extremely proud they will be returning home this summer. We were never going to rush into a decision as to where they should be reinstated, given the huge amount of works that have taken place in the area over recent years. We have undertaken a carefully planned process, working with our architects, construction partners and fan advisory board, and I believe we found a fitting solution. We look forward to welcoming fans back to the stadium for the coming season, as well as Bill's family members and former players to see the gates and feel that close connection between our club and its rich history." So yeah, they should be up by the start of the season. So I'm absolutely going to go down there and have a look at them I don't think I'll get down there probably before the Burnley game, I would imagine. But I definitely would like to head up there and have a little look. And I'm not really one for selfies, but that might be one, just to get one in those gates. I'll probably just take a photo of the gates. It's more likely what I'll do. But I think it'll be quite a cool spot for people to go to. Right. Before I head off, we're going to do a few questions from the Q&A because I've been promising that for ages. So I'm trying to make sure. Let's have a look. No, not that one. Contains questions. Here we are. It's the easiest way for me to get. So you've got my finger on the screen again. Right. Okay. Morgan Gibbs White's ones. Morgan Gibbs White questions, but kind of have answered everything in there, really. As of that, I can possibly know. Yeah, I did say, someone's reminded me at the end of the last video, I said something like, it could all fall apart. I don't think it's entirely fallen apart yet, but we'll see. What else we got? Is this the end of Basuma? Asked Nick Cockrell 239. Oh, I've got to remember, I answered a few, didn't I, previously? I've got to make sure I don't do the same ones. Apologies if I'd already answered this one. I can't remember now which ones I answered. I should have kind of checked first. Basuma, there's a good little video that went out of him today showing how absolutely frenzied and desperate he looks to impress in training, which is a good thing. But obviously he's in a scenario with Bentancur. They've both got a year left on the contracts, and Bentancur was the one that was mentioned in Thomas Frank's first interview, very much as a player he wants to fit in. So I would be surprised if both get new contracts, but who knows? He could absolutely wow Thomas Frank. But yeah, I'd say let's see what happens with Basuma. Let's see. Right, let's get a bit further down so I can make sure it's ones I definitely haven't answered before. Okay. What have we got? People asking when they're going to announce Kudus. That's been done. People reminded me it was Mr. Creosote that I was talking about before. Oh, that's a good question. Dylan Bostock 5976 asks, would you rather a one-on-one interview right now with either Thomas Frank or Ange Postecoglou? And what questions would you ask Postecoglou to get a deeper insight into the club? Well, Thomas Frank, hopefully, on the pre-season tour coming up. I'll be heading over to Hong Kong and South Korea in a couple of weeks' time. Won't be a one-on-one, but there will only be a few of us interviewing him. So I'm kind of getting that, as it were. Postecoglou, it's an awkward one, because what I would say with anyone leaving a club, any manager or coach, for quite a while they have normally an NDA. It's a non-disclosure agreement. So they can't really say too much about the club other than very praiseworthy stuff. And this is not just Spurs, this is pretty much everywhere when you see a manager leaves. So I'm not sure interview with Postecoglou would be as good right now as it would maybe in, I don't know, a year or two's time. I don't know. It's a tough question, that. Maybe on that regard, a 1v1 with Thomas Frank would be pretty cool for now. And Postecoglou maybe in a year or two's time. It's not to say I wouldn't want to interview Postecoglou, to see what I could still get out of him, but I think he would also have to be just treading a very fine line on what he said. What else we got? Someone asking, we seem to have a coach for everything. Who's the coach for bootlace tying? Yeah, there are a lot of coaches. There are. Matt and Tandra 9268. Do you think Ben Davies will be playing fullback under Thomas Frank? I would say it probably feels more likely, doesn't it? As in terms of if he's sticking around for the coming season, I would feel like they've got enough centre backs that don't really require him there. And at the moment, I suppose Gibbs Spence can play left back as well. Left back is probably an area I think I said before that I'd like to see another player come in at, but it may well be the case that Ben Davies still heads off. We'll see. What else we got? Oh, I see. That was a joke. Sorry. I was almost reading out a question, but realised it was a joke halfway through. Someone telling me off for my pronunciation of Kudus. I got it right. I got it off of his thing. I got it off of his the way he said it in his how the players say their own things, although admittedly some of their players change their views on how they say their own names. What else we got? Oh, it's a very random off-topic one. Luis Perez asks, who is your tennis goat of all time? I was a huge Pete Sampras fan growing up. I feel like I've maybe spoken about this. Maybe not. I was reasonable at tennis when I was young. I used to play in junior tournament stuff, and Sampras was the person I kind of modelled my play on, as far as any kid who's nowhere near as good can model themselves on a player. I feel like I've maybe gone too far and I've gone past questions. This is not the most professional way to do this. When are you having your next holiday? No holidays, I'm afraid. I don't believe until October. Kudus wearing a number 20 shirt. I don't think I said that, did I? Because it kind of happened afterwards. Who else wore that shirt? Delhi. I don't remember Delhi wearing it. So it's got a kind of cool predecessors in it. Rob asks, Madders captain this season, thoughts? Sonny is obviously captain right now, and we'll find out exactly what's happening with his future. I don't know. Personally, I would imagine if they're wanting to kind of, for Romero to feel, wanted and all that sort of stuff, you presume it would go to Romero. He's one of the two vice captains, obviously. What else we got? Did Daniel Levy have a day off and leave a post-it note with his password on his desk? Asked David Turner. I don't think so. Don't believe so. Where are all the questions? I've lost all the questions. This would have been so much more professional if I'd had them already. There's one. Adam Hamilton. Whittle asks, is Richie staying? What about a backup for Solanke? Yeah, I mean, Richarlison's contract, he's got 2 years left. We're at that kind of point now where a decision really has to be made. His availability has been rubbish. I saw he and it's not his fault. He's just been injured quite a lot. I saw he reposted on his Instagram story some stat saying that he had the best goals and assists per, was it minutes maybe, in the Premier League last season or something. I was like, that's fine, but he needs to play far more minutes. I can't see that happening myself. I don't know about Richarlison. I don't know where he'll stand. I like Richarlison. I do think he makes an impact every time he plays, but I just feel like if a decent bid came in, I saw him move back to Brazil. We've seen Turkish sides looking at him. I don't know whether that's the kind of thing that makes him turns his head. Maybe Brazil, because obviously it's a World Cup year as well, perhaps. And hey, everyone seems to be going to Turkey right now. Some cracking players seem to be heading there this season. So it certainly feels like a bigger, brighter kind of lure for players than maybe it was beforehand. Sean Gannon asks, is there any news on who's going to take over AIA's shirt sponsorship deal from end of this coming season? I feel like it ends 26-27 is the last season. I mean, technically there may be get out kind of clauses in it. There may be, there may be little kind of caveats. You could kind of buy out of it if there was another deal, perhaps. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was up to 2027 was when it finished, because it was renewed in 2019, 8-year deal. Because I was there. I was there in Shanghai, I think it was, when they signed all the paperwork, kind of ceremonial thing. Daniel Levy and AIA head doing it. So I think it's 27. I know there's been loads right now about investment stuff. You've heard my views on it before. I've already said, from everything I hear, that there is investment coming in from somewhere, potentially from ENIC. How that exactly is made up, whether that, whether there's other stuff coming as well, other sponsorship. The commercial side of the club is one that keeps doing. It's kind of a really outperforming side of the club, and I saw a report, I think it was in the Telegraph, that they're actually also further taking some commercial people that had left Man U recently, an agency who had done some big deals as well. So, yeah, I mean, I've seen obviously reports about potentially stadium naming rights, about the shirt sponsorship as well, just general sponsorship. What I would say is shirt sponsorship, that deal alone with AIA was 320 million across 8 years, if I remember correctly. So you'd be looking at that sort of number again, probably over a smaller period of time, because prices would have gone up, or a bigger number over the same amount of time. And in stadium naming rights deals, I mean, they're huge right now. I think the two LA ones, you had the SoFi Stadium and Staples Center, which Staples Center is now, is it cryo.com arena? Something like that. I can't remember what it's called now. But the point of that is that I think those deals are saying like 500, 600 million pound deals, if not more, over both 20 years, I think they were. So if you were looking at someone that was going to come in and want to do a shirt sponsorship and a stadium deal, they'd have to represent both of those. So you're looking at almost like £1 billion, aren't you? So I'm intrigued to see what's coming in terms of investment. Certainly, I just have this feeling the normal investment will be first, which I just feel like it's probably going to be ENIC, unless there's some other massive, or maybe someone invests in ENIC, the Tavistock Group, whatever it is, the entity, and then it comes through that way. I don't know. It'd be nice to find out. But just everyone has this expectation that there is money coming into the club, and I think when you see a potential week where £120 million was going to be spent until it all went a bit wrong with Forest, it would suggest that for a club that hasn't had a lot of cash to operate with, because we know they're more asset rich than cash rich, something feels like it's loosened up or is coming, if you see what I mean. That kind of what you take from that. What else we got here? Other questions too. Jamie Bryler asks, I couldn't predict Frank's first 11 out of the squad already. Does it mean Kulusevski is seen by Frank more as a winger? This is what I've been wondering. I've been wondering that as well, whether he sees him back as on the right of a three behind the striker or not. But then he's kind of then competing with Brennan Johnson and Kudus as well. So, don't know. I think Kulusevski is just a very versatile player, and I'm pretty sure that he'll like him as a player. Just the problem for Decky right now is obviously he's had this patella surgery. Haven't seen him kind of back in and around it yet. We've seen him in the gym, but it might be that he needs that little bit extra time compared to other people. Just looking at other bits and pieces there. No, nothing worth talking about. What else we got? Is this... The Mr. Woody asks, is the splurge possibly due to Romero getting sold potentially? If he does go, do you think the club will be satisfied with centre-backs already, or would they look to bring another one in? I think I've previously said, I think if Romero were to go, I'm pretty sure they would sign another centre-back. I don't think this is connected to Romero, though, in terms of this money. I feel like it's something separate. And in terms of Romero, seems to be, whether it's just gamesmanship or not, the indications from Atletico seem to be that they don't think they can sign him. And that Spurs aren't going to let him go. Certainly seems to be playing a full part in training everything and see him launching into rondos as he always has been. So it doesn't seem to be any kind of less effort on his part. Not that I'm just saying there would be, but, you know, sometimes you have to kind of just say, man does job, don't you? Because otherwise people think otherwise. What else we got? Don't Kudus and Gibbs White play similar positions as Maddison? I get buying one, but why the other? I think Kudus will be more right wing in this kind of setup, I think. But yeah, I think it's competition for Maddison if Gibbs White does come through the door, and hopefully he does. Yeah, that's what you need. Spurs will be playing in the Champions League. You're going to have games every 3 days and games where you cannot lower the quality of the side either. So the more the better, as long as you can fit them in with the whole club train stuff. What else we got? More people talking about big sales. What else we got? Lots of jokes. Sorry, there are questions, but I've just kind of covered them in other stuff, and I don't want to be repetitive for you. I know this is rubbish, me going, scrolling down a load of questions either. Here we are. Biscuit9901 asks, when a new coach comes in, do you find yourself bargaining for interviews and questions, or are you established in the club-manager relationship with journalists? It felt that Ange had respect for you and you had a relationship there. Do you put thought into building this with new managers? It's not so much bargaining for interviews and questions. I mean, obviously in press conference we'll get the questions anyway. We're there, and obviously the regulars will get their spot. And really everyone, unless it's an absolute packed one and they run out of time, everyone really gets their question they want to ask. But in terms of building a relationship, the tour will help, you know. I think sometimes when a manager sees that you're making those effort and going out there and going on the tours and you're going to be there regularly every kind of week, they get to know you pretty well. You know, you saw with Ange Postecoglou the reaction he had when he saw me out in that crazy 24-hour, 48 hours in Melbourne. You know, and I think just moments like that just build a relationship, and I suppose so did when he realised that I'd convinced my wife to go and have a look round where he grew up in Melbourne, in Paran, which wasn't. It was a holiday, but we just passed by there, and she had a really nice day actually, because she also got to see Ramsey Street. Or it's not really called Ramsey Street, but it is in Neighbours, of course. Yeah, so yeah. That's the way it'll be. Hopefully you'll build a relationship with him. He seems like a good guy, a good one for journalists to kind of get insight out of. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, it all begins on Friday at it's 3:00. I think it's an afternoon one. I'm hoping that's not a sign of things to come. I think if it's a Friday press conference before the Premier League, it has to be before a certain time. I think maybe 1:00. But maybe if they're Thursday press conferences going forward, that might be that he prefers them to be afternoon to get everything done. Yeah, there you go. Right, I think that's probably the best place to leave it right now. Just having a little scan. There'll be other questions. I'll try and fit them in the end of each video I do. So if you want to put new ones in, please do under this. Just more Brazilian stuff about Richarlison. Palmeiras, the latest one's linked to him, willing to pay 55 million. I kind of feel like if someone were to offer Spurs 55 million, they would probably take it, just purely because of those availability issues. And they bring in another striker. I think in that case you would have to. You've got Kudus and Matisse Tell that can play up there, but I think you need another natural out-and-out striker to play up there, really, unless they were going to give an opportunity to a Will Lancashire, Dane Scarlett. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Kind of feels like the whole kind of theme of this video. Who knows? Right, I'm going to head off because this video is probably going to go out quite late at this point as well. Yeah, if there's anything more to update you on, of course, in the coming days, I will. Don't head off on the tour till not next week, the one after. Like I say, Thomas Frank's first press conference. I will be at Reading as well on Saturday for the first pre-season games. I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, I will probably do a video next, barring anything huge happening in the next couple of days, maybe Sunday. And we talk about everything that's happened since, press conference, and also pre-season friendly. And the huge long throws we're going to see. Mainly the patterns of play are going to be interesting to see. But yeah. So I'll talk to you then. If I talked to you before, it's because something really great's happened or something really awful. Hopefully the former, not the latter. What else? I did a new movie video, if anyone's interested in those. Seems to be a nice little kind of audience that's kind of growing on that channel. Gold goes to the movies. I think if you're on my YouTube channel page for this, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a link that takes you right to it, I think. Listen to me sounding all technical and I've got no idea. Yeah, spoiler-free movie reviews. Do them, I think that was episode 20 I did. I've done a fair few now. Always do new releases, cinema stuff, streaming stuff, and Blast from the Past movie as well. So there you go. And yes, I don't know how I have the time to do it either. It is a bit daft and ridiculous, but I love movies as well. So there you go. Right, let's head off. Let's catch up with each other later, eh? As always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I shall indeed catch you later. Goodbye.